it was very clear early on that we were going to be breaking up over dinner at Smoke Signals. So as, a waiter comes to you several times throughout the meal, there are these swings in Ben's energy of like being super animated with his friend, the waiter, and then breaking up with me.
You're listening to the Howl Podcast. True stories, no notes. I'm Ethan Shanty. I know, you thought the season was all done, but it is the holidays, so I'm feeling generous, and I wanted to give you a little gift. Normally what you're hearing on the podcast is one story that I've cherry-picked from our live story slams, but I was thinking that hearing one story out of context doesn't really give you the feel of what these story slams are like. So that's today's episode. If you've never been to one of our story slams, here's how it works. NCPR and the Adirondack Center for Writing in Saranac Lake choose a theme. Then a bunch of people show up to whatever venue we've picked, and they tell a true story in 5 minutes or less with no notes and no props. And that's basically it. At the end of the night, our judges pick 3 winners, and the number 1 spot is a chance to go to our Howl Grand Slam at the end of the year. The cool thing about the Howl Story Slam is you never really know what you're getting yourself into. We don't let people sign up in advance, and we don't vet their stories, and sometimes we get a lot of people, sometimes we just get a handful, but it's always really thrilling. There's a lot of folks who come out and make it their business to tell stories, like they practice up. And almost every time, you get someone who showed up to the space, and they had no idea that this was even happening. They just wanted to get a beer or grab some dinner, and one of their friends nudges them and says, "Hey, you've got a great story, why don't you get on stage?" And oftentimes that person has never been on stage in their entire life, and the whole thing is nerve-wracking for them. But then sometimes they win and they become a certified storytelling addict. And that's my favorite thing to see. A person who's never done this get to the top spot. I mean, it takes guts to get up on stage. Really. I mean, think about all the times that you had to give a presentation for class or for work, all those eyes staring at you, and you're worried that the joke that you've recited in your head is totally going to flop. It's really tough stuff. Trust me. So with that in mind, on today's episode, I wanted to drop you into one of those story slams. It's not the whole thing, just 5 of the stories that we heard there. And it gives you an idea of what it's like to be in the audience, with people around you making noise, the clatter of glasses and silverware, and the nervous energy of the room. And I hope that when you hear this one, you'll decide that you want to come out and hang with us at one of our live story slams. So the next voice you're going to hear belongs to Natalie Thill. She's the executive director of the Adirondack Center for Writing in Saranac Lake. And without any further ado, here we go. Here's Natalie Thill live on stage introducing the Howl Story Slam at Smoke Signals in Lake Placid on the theme Kitchen Confidential.
Can you hear me? Hey, can y'all hear me? Hey, everybody, pay attention to me. Yes, thank you so much. Thanks for coming to the Howl. This is our first time in Smoke Signals. I keep wanting to call them smoke shows, but there's smoke shows. Isn't this an amazing space? I love this place. Now, I don't want to start off the night with a complaint, but not a single person has complimented my shoes. Not a single. Noticing them is not the same as complimenting, y'all. Not the same, okay? I want those compliments coming fast. I want them coming hard. You cannot compliment me too much. That is the moral of this story. All right, so for those of you who do not know me, I am Natalie Thill. I direct the Adirondack Center for Writing. If you are not familiar with ACW, I encourage you to become so. We are the coolest kids in town. We do a lot of programs that inspire the love of writing, reading, and storytelling. We do it throughout the whole region. We have a very full calendar. If you are not familiar with what we're doing, please, we're on all the socials, we're on all the internets, all the places. You can't miss us. So please become involved with us. We run the Howl with our partners, North Country Public Radio, NCPR. Okay, cool. 5-minute stories. They are true, at least true to you. No notes, no props. And on tonight's theme, which is Kitchen Confidential, which can mean a lot of things, right? I feel like there's something I forgot. Okay, so one of the cool things about the Howl is the first story of the night and the last story of the night are told by staff. It's very cool. We do this for programming reasons, but it's also very nice because you get to know the staff on a deeper level than you usually do with most organizations. Obviously, we're not, timed or judged or anything like that. We're just here to serve and entertain you entirely. So tonight, I am telling the last story of the night, which means The first story of the night is told by NCPR staff, and tonight it's not going to be your co-host Mitch. Oh my God, it's not. But get psyched, because you know who it is going to be? Emily Russell!
So I almost dropped out of college to go to culinary school. I was 18 years old, and it was the summer after my freshman year, and I was really unhappy. I had very few friends. I was pretty lonely, and I really did not like college. What I did really like was food and cooking and sharing meals with people. That was one of my passions in life. I grew up, I feel like, in the heyday of the Food Network channel, watching Ina Garten and Paula Deen and North Country's own Rachel Ray. Thank you. Yes. 30-minute meals. That brought me a lot of joy when I was growing up, and I could see the passion in the work that they were doing. And food has always been really important to me. It's been a priority in my family life. My father was the chef in our family. He'd cook home-cooked meals every night of the week. Pretty incredible. And in college, there was no connection to food. You'd show up at the dining hall, and often I would be sitting alone. And it was a pretty hard first year in school. So about a month before I was supposed to go back, I went up to my dad, and I was in tears, and I said, "Dad, please don't make me go back to college. I really don't want to go back. I think I could go to culinary school." And he did the greatest thing in the world, which was just listen to me and console me. And he didn't tell me what to do. We talked it through. We talked very realistically about what going to culinary school would look like. And that was a big eye-opening experience. I would later work for just a month at a restaurant in Lake George, and that was the hardest work I've ever done and the least pay I've ever earned over a month. So I went back to college. I obviously graduated college, but that moment was a kind of pivotal moment and a good lesson that I learned, thinking really deeply about following passions in life and, career passions versus just hobby passions. And I used that lesson later in life when I decided to move to Alaska for a master's degree, and I really thought I was on the right track, and it was a great move. But near the end of getting a degree out in Alaska, I found public radio. Just as a listener, I was listening every single day just to stay connected to the world around me. And near the end of getting my degree, I thought, well, okay, this seems like a cool passion of mine that I could do for a career. And I dove right in. I moved out to a tiny little village on the edge of the Bering Sea, and 10 years this summer is my anniversary in public radio journalism. So thank you. Yeah, that was a decade ago. And today I've probably talked to many of you about the work that I do. And I'm not lying when I say I think I have the best job in the world. And not just as a public radio reporter, which is an amazing job. You get to meet new people every day, learn new things, share the stories of voices. I'm sure I've interviewed a number of people in this room today. It's a great job, but specifically working at NCPR and working and living in the Adirondacks, it's like the trifecta. Really is the greatest job in the world. And I wanted to share that with you all and give a special shout out to our general manager, Mitch Tyke, who has... I'm veering away from the Story Slam theme and going into a pitch mode here. So as many of you have probably heard, we're in weird, tough times with federal funding at risk. And I just wanted you all to kind of put a face to a name, a voice you hear on public radio, and really know that it's the joy of my life to do this work for you. And I got a minute left. But seriously, the people that I work with for NCPR really care about this mission, and I feel very thankful that you all let me do the work that I do. I'm sure many of you are supporters and sustainers. If you're not, ncpr.org/give. I give every month. You should think about it. But big takeaways, I'm really glad I'm not a chef, and I'm very grateful for what I do. So thank you.
And to bring it all home, you could say that public radio is the rare medium that's well done. Thank you. Can you tell I've used that line before? I just want to, before we go any further, we're going to have our first storyteller come out in just a second. I don't know how many of you subscribe to the Howl podcast. It is a podcast that we distributed at NCPR, but it is comprised of many stories you hear at events just like this one. Tonight's Howl is being recorded for possible use. Some of the stories you hear tonight may wind up on the podcast, so just a warning not to shout anything too obscene. Well, our first speaker, you are in for a treat tonight because she is a multi-time competitor at the Howl Grand Slam. Please give a warm welcome to Kelsey Francis.
So I have 3 kids, and I don't know how many parents are in the room, but it's very likely if you've been a parent long enough, you have lived through what I call the beige food group phase of eating, where your kids will only eat beige foods. Chicken nuggets, crackers, French fries, and the number one, pasta, noodles. And given my kids' age range, there was a solid decade where there was only beige food, I should say they were only eating beige food. And at least one of the 3 was nightly only eating pasta, sometimes for lunch. Fortunately, my kids were big fans of marinara sauce, so it relieved a little bit of my guilt that they were getting at least some color in their diet. So this was all great. They were eating lots of pasta and lots of marinara, so much so that I decided to even attempt to make marinara. Bought ingredients, cooked it, jarred it, kept it in the fridge, and they loved it. The only issue with all the pasta and marinara consumption was that we never taught our kids how to spell the word marinara. M-A-R-I-N-A-R-A. So when my son transitioned from 5th grade to 6th grade, he'd gone to a really small Catholic school, sweet and lovely, and there were only 5 kids in his class. And then in 6th grade, he went to public school. And in early on in his 6th grade year, they brought in a substance abuse counselor to survey the students about substance abuse. And it was an anonymous survey. And when it was passed out, the very first question was, have you ever tried marinara? According to my son. Heck yeah. Yes. Question 2. Anybody else in your house use marinara? Oh yeah. All 5 of us. My sisters are big fans. He worked through the questions. Every time that M word came up, he read it as marinara. So, my mom makes marinara. It's so good she could sell it. Turns in the survey, no name on the survey, remember, anonymous. And then the substance abuse educator starts to talk about the substance and says, marijuana. And the gears start turning in his head. The 11-year-old gears. Oh my God, my family is marinara junkies? Like, what does this mean? So he comes home and he is cycled through panic, just absolute freak out, and is telling my husband and I this story, and he initially thinks marinara is a dangerous substance and then learns that we're actually talking about marijuana. So he says, call the school and tell them that I misunderstood. And my husband and I are like, we are not calling the school. No, we're just marinara users. So we said, let it go. Don't worry, it's anonymous. Your name wasn't on it. Let it go. We move on. A month later, a letter arrives in the mail. it has come to our attention that the current 6th grade is in need for more extensive substance abuse education based on survey results. Oh my God. There is a data set out there that shows that a very small school in Lake Placid, New York, in one particular year had a very high use of 6th grade marinara usage. So we let it go. Thanks.
Nice. Wait, is this on again? You can hear me? Okay, sorry. All right, please welcome Mary Glenn. Yay!
I think that some meals can change your life, but really I just had a meal about 3 years ago that changed how my friends and I hear the word brisket and think about it. So to set the scene, this is a bit of a breakup story, but also something I kept kind of quiet for a while until I realized how funny it is. So about July of 2022, I had been really having a rough time. I had been going through a lot of life changes. I had lost my father to a long illness. 5 weeks later, my young and healthy cat suddenly died. And my relationship at the time was not doing very well at all. So my boyfriend, Ben, invited me out to dinner at Smoke Signals after work. And so this was the first time we had seen each other in a couple of days. Our last conversation we had was not great. We could tell that we were, really working through some stuff. And I was hoping we could just have a nice dinner out on the back deck here at Smoke Signals and just forget it all for a bit and have a nice evening. So we sat down and we were greeted by our waiter. And he walks over and it's a friend of Ben's. So they are very friendly and Ben becomes uncharacteristically animated. He was real chatty and got all, silly when the waiter comes. And, it was very clear early on that we were going to be breaking up over dinner at Smoke Signals. So as, a waiter comes to you several times throughout the meal, there are these swings in Ben's energy of being super animated with his friend, the waiter, and then breaking up with me. So he orders the brisket per his friend's recommendation. Because it is so big, he was sure to have leftovers the next day for lunch. So I ordered the pulled pork sandwich in case you care about that. So we sit down, our meal comes to us, and as a single tear is running down my cheek, I'm, okay, we're breaking up, and he's like, yes, but you got to try this brisket. And I said, I'm okay. I have, we're breaking up. I don't need to eat off your plate anymore. And he goes, no, you have to try it. There's these 3 dipping sauces. You're not going to like that one. You're going to like these 2. You've got to try it. So just to get him to shut up about it, I try it. I'm hoping out of spite that I'll like the one he says I wasn't going to like, but he was right. I didn't like that one, but I did like the other 2. It was delicious. The conversation continues, me talking about how he had been really absent for me, during the loss of my father and my cat, and him talking about how great the brisket was. And the conversation continues. We break up. He pays the bill. He gets his leftover brisket boxed up, and we walk out. We walk out and head to my car so we can hug goodbye. And over in that parking lot over there, actually, we hug goodbye at my car. He walks away down the street to his vehicle, and I get in my car. I sit there in the car for a couple minutes, and I'm just like, wow, am I going to be okay? I just, this is a lot of changes, and I'm just staring at the sky when my phone rings, and it's Ben. And he is pretty notorious for butt dialing, so that's what I'm expecting. But I answer the phone, and he says, hey, did I leave my brisket on the roof of your car? And so I say, let me check. And I get out of the car and I look on the roof of the car. the brisket is not there. So I tell him, nope, it's not here. And he goes, okay, well then do you think I left it at the restaurant at our table? And I say, I don't know. We have broken up. Like, I'm not keeping tabs on where your precious brisket is. And so he goes, okay, well, should I go back and check? And I say, I don't care. So we hang up the phone, and I think he goes back and checks, but I really don't know, because those are the last words I ever heard from Brisket Ben.
Did anybody in here order the brisket, by the way? We have a few more people signed up to tell stories, which means that we have a few more blanks on the sign-up sheet. So if you have not yet signed up to tell a story, as you can see, it's possible. You can do it. You will probably not spontaneously combust. I have never spontaneously combusted while telling a story, so you probably will not either, although there is always a first. So if you're thinking about it, if you're on the fence, now's the time to do it. Go visit the clipboard by the doorway.
All right, y'all ready for your next storyteller? Woot, woot. Your next storyteller is Sammy D.
My daddy's a carpenter, so naturally my first job was a laborer. And after what seemed like a lifetime of digging up stones and rocks and moving stuff around for him, I decided to become a waiter. So I went up the hill here, and I got a job at the Holiday Inn being a food runner. And I loved the job so much, I said, well, you know what? I'm going to move out of this town. I'm going to go to Miami, South Beach, and I'm going to run food there. And so some of my buddies, they started a restaurant in South Beach down in between 1st and 16th, which is a very busy part of South Beach on Collins Avenue. And they gave me a job as a waiter. So I learned the menu, and I got good at the job. And in between, there's a couple streets in South Beach, and there's Ocean Drive, Collins Avenue, and Washington Avenue. And they're the busiest part of the tourist area. So in between Washington Avenue and Collins Avenue, there's a large alleyway that goes from 1st to 16th all the way down. And that alleyway is filled with what they call hustlers and homeless people. And they're kind of one and the same. So I was in the kitchen working there, and I would go out back and I would have my cigarette. And that was my routine. And there was a couple guys out there, 3 of them, and they would hustle out of that block and work in the same area where I would have my cigarette in that back alley with the busy, bustling people walking on the street. And one guy, we'll call him Big Man. He looked like a wrestler. And the other guy, his name was Skinny, and he was like an aggressive sweeper. He was always sweeping the alley, cleaning it up. And then the last guy, his name was Tripod, and he had 1 leg and 2 crutches. And they worked that alley. That was theirs. And so one day I'm out there having a cigarette, and Skinny, he's sweeping. He's sweeping up the pee and the needles, and he's moving it towards the end of the alley where the people are walking. And what does he do? But he brushes it off and hits a young lady tourist's dress. And that lady was traveling with an enormous man. And that man grabbed Skinny by the neck and started choking him. And he picked him right off the ground, and Skinny started turning blue, and his man, Big Man, saw it happening, so he started moving towards Skinny to help his buddy. And by the time he got there, this big tourist, he dropped Skinny. Skinny was out, and he clotheslined Big Man so hard, Big Man did a backflip. And he was down, and at the same time, Tripod was working his way towards the action because he wanted to help his buddy too. And when he got to this big tourist man, he only had one option, and that was to get him with the crutch. So he pulled the crutch out, and he tried to throw it at this monster tourist, and he grabbed it. And then his only other option was to use the other crutch. So he picked that crutch up, and he went to stab him with that. And the big tourist, he grabbed both those crutches, and he cocked back as hard as he could, and he kicked Tripod right in his chest. And Tripod, in slow motion, went flying through the air and rolling down the alley. At that time, Skinny was waking up and swearing. He was coming back to reality. And Big Man had scampered off and left. And Tripod was out. And this big tourist, he was satisfied. So he went back to his lady, checked on her, and they walked on. And I'd seen these guys do a bunch of weird stuff, but so it wasn't too surprising. So I put out my cigarette butt, and I called it an afternoon. I went back inside to do my wait and tables job. So I go into the restaurant, and what do you know? This huge tourist and his beautiful girlfriend come in, and the hostess sits them down at my table. And so he had seen me out there watching the scuffle, and I walked up to the table, and I said, "How you doing, sir?" And he said, "How are you doing today?" And I said, "Just fine. How about you?" And he says, "Never been better." And I said, "Okay. Well," and he said to me, "You know what? I'm going to have a caprese salad, and my lady here is going to have an afternoon eggs Benedict." And I said, "Well, I'll punch that in right away for you. Would you like something to drink?"
I'm very excited to tell you we have Tripod with us on the stage. All right, so before we send our secret judges off to their secret undisclosed location where they will do secret deliberating and choose secret winners for, I guess they'll be well-known winners for tonight. First of all, how about a big round of applause, a thank you to Smoke Signals for having us tonight. And before we send you off into the Lake Placid evening, please welcome the head of ACW, Natalie Thill.
Hey, everyone. What a fun night. Thank you so much. So, if you have heard me tell stories, there is a very good chance that you have heard me tell the stories of when I worked at a cowboy bar. You may know me from past hits as putting a tray of dirty dishes on an old woman's walker thinking it was a tray jack. Or serving a whole family hot fudge sundaes, not realizing that I had chocolate sauce all over my face at the time. This is my waitressing legacy. But it didn't end there. After the cowboy bar, I did catering at the Hyatt in Buffalo, where I spilled so much food on people, just daily. I don't know. In one notable case, I threw it. I had a side salad in my hand. I talked with my hands, did one of these. The salad just went straight. The lettuce actually flew right down, but the tomato slice caught air, and it flew like a frisbee and just smacked a guy right in the face and then slowly slid down. And then I said, "You ordered the tossed salad?" Right? Who wouldn't be charmed by that? That man was so mad. And then I was like, do I clean off the tomato or does he? Like, they don't train you on this. So this is I was a really, really bad waitress, epically bad. So it's going to surprise you all, shock the hell out of me, that my next job was as the dining room manager at the Lake Placid Lodge. If you are not familiar with that place, it is fancy as hell. I waited on Bill Gates, Susan Sarandon, John Cougar Mellencamp. It's that kind of place, right? And me, of the chocolate sauce all over the face legacy, was the dining room manager. This came about randomly. When I first moved up here, a friend called and she was like, "Hey, I work at this place called the Lake Placid Lodge. We're doing catering at this place called the Horse Show. We're shorthanded. Could you just work this one night, like a per diem? It'll be an easy gig." And it was. All I had to do all night was point to the buffet. So I was all like Vanna White about it. I spoke in accents. I was like, "We have ways of showing you the buffet." Because there's something wrong with me. Why was I doing that? Like, what is wrong with me? But I had a ball, and I was like, oh, I'll never see those people again. Next morning, there's a message on the answering machine from the general manager of the Lake Placid Lodge, straight up offering me the position of dining room manager. And I was like, "Do you think I'm qualified? Because I am not qualified." And she's like, "That is not a problem. Take the job." So in that spirit, I did. So even though I had no training and they knew that, they did not provide training. It was a baptism by fire. But, everyone there was really, really nice, except for the sous chef, Rob. So if you've seen the show The Bear or you know anything about high-end kitchens, there is a culture where they are so mean. The chef and the sous chef are so cruel to both the chefs and the wait staff, right? The difference is that with the chefs, they also have these bonding moments, right? So they go out drinking. They'll, if it's one of their birthdays, they'll throw them in the stock pot. So they have real highs and lows. But the wait staff just have lows. They're just mean. We are never bonding with them. But, everybody else was really nice. It was kind of fun. And here's the crazy part. I was really good at this job. Because I was manager, I didn't serve the food. So I'm clumsy, not stupid. I'm just very, very clumsy. But I ended up being really good. And even Rob, the sous chef, ended up having respect for me. We became friends. And even though I was good, I still just felt like I didn't belong, And I didn't feel like I belonged to the Cowboy Bar. I thought it was because I did a bad job. But here I am doing a good job. Didn't feel like I belonged. So I was like, okay, clearly I don't belong in restaurants. So after about a year, I gave my notice. Now, when you work in the restaurant business, if any of you did, it is really high turnover. People are constantly leaving. So the last day, you clock out, you wave goodbye, you walk off. That's just the nature of the business, right? So my last day was about 2 hours before my shift ended, and suddenly my staff is gone. And I am pissed because clearly they recognize me as the lame duck that I am. What am I going to do? I'm leaving. So they're just all messing around somewhere, right? So I go into the kitchen, which is usually bustling with 9 chefs and stuff, deserted. And I'm like, what is going on? And the general manager comes down and she's like, what is happening? There are dirty dishes in the game room. Where's your staff? I'm like, excellent question. I don't know. And she's like, you have to pick them up now. So I am so mad. I march into the game room, full of righteous anger. I go in, and the entire staff is there. When I say entire staff, I'm talking dining, kitchen, maintenance, housekeeping, front. This is high season, Lake Placid Lodge on a Saturday. It came to a grinding halt. They're popping champagne bottles. The pastry chef baked me a cake. They're making these toasts. I know, it's really sweet. But I was really surprised because I legitimately didn't even know they liked me. I had no idea. And so I'm just really stunned by this. And I'm talking to a coworker, and at one point her eyes get huge. And the next thing I know, I am surrounded by all the chefs. They pick me up, they duct tape my wrists and my ankles together, carry me out like a log to the back lot. I'm fighting like hell. One pours molasses all over me, then flowers, like a non-lethal tarring and feathering. The general manager is standing there, she's like, because she's never seen anything like that. And one of the chefs was like, this means we love her. And the thing is that I actually knew that. I'm fighting, but I knew that what was happening was love. And it was really rare. And the crazy thing is, when I left the Cowboy Bar, they also gave me a goodbye party, unprecedented. Different vibes. I'm not going to lie. There was no champagne at that Cowboy Bar. But they were both equally heartfelt. And to me, surprising, because I had no idea. All this time, I felt like I didn't belong. But clearly, I was the only one who felt that way. I just didn't know until I left. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Have a great night. Thanks, Smoke Signal.
That's going to do it for this special edition of the Howl Podcast. If you like what you heard, come on out and join us. We're in the middle of choosing our theme for next season, and after that, we'll figure out where we're going to be, but wherever it is, there's a pretty good chance that you'll only be a short drive away. So come on out, tell us your story, and you might even end up on the podcast, or you might end up going to the Howl Grand Slam. The Howl Grand Slam is where the winners of each regional story slam come and compete head-to-head for one night. Our next one is coming up Saturday, January 24th at Gulick Theater in Canton on the St. Lawrence University campus. The winners of this season's regional slams will be on stage for one night only, telling stories on the theme A for Effort. So it's stories of best laid plans, trying your hardest, and the missteps along the way. You can find tickets and more information ncpr.org/Grand Slam. The Howl is written, produced, and edited by me. I'm Ethan Shanty. Doyle Dean is our production manager. Caitlin Kelly handles our social media. Bill Hanel is our digital guy. And David Summerstein is my script supervisor. All the audio captured at this event was recorded by Mitch Tyke and edited by me. Our theme music is by famous letter writer of Plattsburgh. To hear more stories, find out when we're going to be telling stories near you, and to sign up for the Howl newsletter with news stories delivered to your email inbox each week, visit ncpr.org/howl. For North Country Public Radio, I'm Ethan Shanty. This is NCPR.